Do an intro.
Hey!
You're aware that there is already a music intro at the beginning of the video, right?
And then there's an acapella one as well. No.
Do you remember what the music intro went like? Because that was not acapella of that version.
No. Well, yeah, no, I remember what it... Yeah. I remember what it goes like. Do-do-do. And then something. I don't remember.
Hello everyone and welcome to Elder Scrolls Online discussion of by two jackasses of a goddamn variety. We will also be doing a retrospective on Skyrim at some point, so look forward to that. That's going to be a big selling point, I think. How about you? You think?
I think it might be. Or it might not be.
It's definitely a possibility, yeah.
It's definitely a possibility. Sure.
Alright, so the Elder Scrolls Online is an Elder Scrolls game online. Very innovative naming. Rather than taking place in a specific region like many other, every other Elder Scrolls game does, this is in...
Except for the first one.
Except for the first one, which takes place in every region, of course, and I haven't been able to do that since then. This takes place in all of Tamriel, and the story is... Well, I mean, not all of it.
I should specify for you, because you can't do it. Each province is playable to some degree. However, certain provinces, such as Black Marsh and elsewhere, will only be able to be traveled to in a limited capacity. Also, some areas are locked off for expansion content, and Cyril is only accessible at level 10.
I was going to mention those things, man.
You weren't specific enough.
Because I wanted to mention the story before I started mentioning the fucking provinces.
Well, continue then.
The game takes place 1,000 years before Skyrim, and Molag Bal is the main antagonist. I do believe he is the Daedric Prince of Rape. And
destruction. And
mostly rape.
Yeah.
And the story is that three factions are fighting for Cyrodiil. The Aldmeri Dominion, which has the Altmer, Bosmer, and Khajiit. The Daggerfall Covenant, which has the Orcs, Bretons, and Redguards. And the Ebonheart Pact, that has the Dunmer, Nord, and Argonians. So...
I just feel like I should mention, quickly, that each race for each specific faction, I assume you start off in their home province. But I know that they definitely... like, the Aldmeri Dominion control all the home provinces of the Bosmer, the Altmer, and the Khajiit. And the same applies to Daggerfall Covenant and Ebonheart Pact.
Have you reset your mic to its factory default position?
Yeah, I forgot.
Fucking dumbass.
I'm sorry!
Right, but this is just like a Skyrim, not Skyrim, an Elder Scrolls game that has a big main bad guy, a big primary problem that we have to deal with, but at the same time has a big civil war going on, a big war that you have to get involved in at some point. It just it seems to fit, you know, like there's the overall looming threat of Molag Bal, but there's also the whole three factions fighting and then a bunch of random side quests that deal with werewolves and other random shit. It's just like any RPG.
That
honestly.
Reminds me of another game.
What?
Starting with the name, The Elder Scrolls, with the subtitle of Skyrim. You know,
There's
this big problem. Then there's the war going on, and there's the other side quests. It's kind of the same setup, really.
New concepts are kind of difficult to come up with. We'll give them a little bit of credit. I mean, every RPG follows this arc. There's always a big world-ending problem that you're the only one that gives a shit about. And then there's a bunch of other people
and the thousands of other players.
And the thousands of other players, of course.
You will care about.
And then there's a bunch of random NPCs that don't seem to give a shit because they're busy with another problem. A civil war, usually, or... Yeah, usually a civil wars.
Rats in the cellar.
Rats in the cellars, of course.
Goblins or something.
Or the fact that they're just too lazy to walk across the town to deliver a letter, that kind of thing.
Yeah, anything, really, you know. You're an errand boy, that's what you do.
But I'm going to guess that this is going to be packed with side quests like that. And, there's probably going to be a very deep story to it, aside from the main storyline, because The Elder Scrolls is a very old series. There's like 20 years of lore that was never put into a game outside of a book. So I think this might be a good opportunity to put a lot of that stuff in, especially since some of that lore would have been happening at this time.
Mm-hmm. And, something that I actually found out, and this isn't probably going to change anyone's minds on whether or not they want to buy it, but I think they're going to put some effort into retaining a lot of the lore, because apparently you can still read books, and, you know, there's still Daedric shrines and stuff like that, so they're going to try and not going to stray too far from the source material.
That's
what
the
I mean?
Elder
But,
Scrolls.
you know, why would they?
That's the way the Elder Scrolls is. You know, you're supposed to be like adventuring on your own, occasionally raiding random shit. Find a book that's interesting, just sit down and read it. You know, it's a very solitary experience, and that's why I'm wondering how well it's going to translate to an MMO style, because you can't really appreciate the story with a bunch of other people around.
It's going to be pretty interesting for sure.
And it seems to focus on group dynamics. There's like a whole siege game mode and everything, and it doesn't seem to fit into the Elder Scrolls universe. Player characters are always like the chosen ones, unstoppable demigods by the end of the game, and you can't have that happen in MMO. You can't have 72 demigods on screen at once, you know?
Well, you've clearly never played a game like World of Warcraft. Like, I'm not joking. Once you get to the higher levels, everyone is literally decked out in, like, armor that just, like, has random shit floating, like, there's big spikes coming off their shoulders, like, green eyes. Everyone looks like demigods. It does get to that point.
Well, they've got the dosh for the bling, you know?
There you go. Eloquently put.
Anyway, I noticed that there are only 9 playable races. Imperials aren't playable, apparently. Which I think has something to do with the fact that Cyrodiil hasn't quite been founded yet.
And, I wasn't actually aware of that.
Yet. I guess the Imperials are a young race or something. Or maybe they're just like NPCs, I don't know.
I actually find it really curious that orcs are playable, but Imperials aren't. Because I remember Morrowind was the first game that let you play as an orc. Because up until that point, they were like an enemy race that you would find in the world and kill. And it says that, it states here in my notes, that in the setting of the game, Orsinium, you know, where the orcs are from, Orsinium, that city somewhere.
The little part
High Rock.
High Rock, yeah.
Yeah, it says that was only recently recognized as, like, I don't know, a province. Well, not a province, but you know what I mean, like a...
That's why the orcs and Bretons would be in the same covenant, the Daggerfall covenant.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
sharing the same homeland.
Yeah. But, yeah, there you go. Oh, actually, something I forgot to mention. Well, you forgot to mention that I forgot to point out. You know the King of Worms in Skyrim and Oblivion, Mana Marco?
Yeah. Those books.
Apparently, he does actually fit into the story. He's conspiring with Molag Bal to take over Mundus, which is like the world, not just Tamriel, the entire world.
That's what I'm talking about. See, like that's 20 years of lore, 2 decades of lore, more than most people who are going to be playing this game are old.
Yeah. Definitely older than me.
Yeah. You fucking jailbait.
Older than you as well.
By like
Bitch.
a year.
What?
Come on.
Whatever. But
Right. And what are you doing over there?
I was just adjusting.
So unprofessional. You can't adjust in the middle of a discussion like
Okay.
this.
I'll just stay rock steady, just completely still for however long this takes.
Yeah. Hold still. Take your hat off. Put it on your chest for this. All right. It's very serious.
Okay.
One thing that I heard that seems pretty interesting is they wanted to address the problem of, you know, day one server issues like what's it called? Sim City had. Remember that? Like you couldn't even play online for the first week that it came out. And apparently they're going to fix this by having one server, just one big server where everyone is on.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting because in every other MMO, I think it's just like there are loads of serverless so that, you know, one world doesn't get too overcrowded, I guess. But that never really made sense to me because if it's an MMO and it's meant to take place in, you know, a massive game world, like World of Warcraft originally spanned like 2 entire continents, then it eventually grew to 3 continents, and then, you know, an entire different reality that you could go to, and that was like in itself an entire continent. So it's like 4 continents worth of space. This is going to be an entire continent, but a massive continent made up of not hundreds, made up of a few different provinces. So it makes sense that they would want to fill it up with as many players as they could, right? And not just separate them into loads of different servers. They wanted to make it seem more like a living world.
As someone who doesn't have a lot of experience with World of Warcraft, I can't speak for how big the world is, but just my experiences in Oblivion and Skyrim, just those games, those game maps are big enough for a very large amount of players to be in without ever seeing each other. Those are fucking
Yeah.
huge. If they keep them the same size, you're not going to be able to meet players too often if every player's on one server. It's still going to feel a bit, I think, empty at times, unless there's an absolutely massive amount of people that are playing this game.
Well, if it's popular enough, then that could be like a few million people playing, which, in which case, you know, I could see not feeling too lonely at times.
I think the whole area of Tamriel has more than a few million people in it, in lores. In the lore, I believe. I mean, at least it's supposed to. Within the games,
Yes.
not really. There's like only 200 characters in Skyrim altogether. But I think that
It certainly doesn't feel like
there should be that many people.
Yeah, but would you say that Cyrodiil in Oblivion and Skyrim in Skyrim actually feel like as large as countries? Would you say they feel actually like they could be countries? Are they big enough?
Well, speaking as someone who lives in a very, 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 very large country, I wouldn't really say that they would seem like countries.
Well,
because I wouldn't be
could
able
they
to
be
walk
countries?
from
'Cause-
the border of Mexico to the border of Canada in the same time it would take me to walk to the border of Cyrodiil to the border of the fucking ocean in Skyrim.
well, yeah, but you know, other countries comparative. Do you think?
I guess. I don't have a really good point of reference. I haven't spent too long in other countries. Like, my longest time outside of this country was 3 months, so... I mean,
Interesting.
you're the one that has the experience here. You live in that little shit stain of an island that they call what's-its-face.
Yeah, GB.
Yeah.
But what do you know about the classes in the game?
Oh, the classes. Yeah. I know that there are preset classes that determine abilities. Your abilities are not based on skills, but each class can mix and match weapons and armor. And I only know of 2 classes with in detail. The rest of them I couldn't find any details on. I know that they're like
Yeah.
wardens and spell swords and stuff like that, but I only have info on Templars and Dragon Knights.
Yeah, and there's a third class that I read about called a sorcerer, which I assume is just your standard like mage class, you know,
Yeah.
nothing special. But according to my notes, Dragon Knights are like, it says that they're like skillful masters at arms that use the ancient Akaviri martial arts tradition of battle spirit and wield fearsome mason that pounds, shatters, and physically alters the world around them. So it's pretty safe to assume that's a warrior.
Yeah, what I got here is it says they have good
And,
offense and defense. They have a fiery
Yes,
reach
just a
ability that
warrior.
allows them to pull enemies in. They have a slam attack that stuns, a spike armor which boosts their damage resistance and damages the attackers that hit them, and they have a dragon armor ultimate which cloaks them in lava and does big damage.
Yeah.
They seem to be very flexible.
Yeah, it does seem to be. It seems. It's another thing actually. I noticed, like compared to other RPGs, the Elder Scrolls games are usually quite free. Like they've gotten more and like less confined, I guess, as it goes along. Like they rely more on you just playing in a certain way and leveling up certain skills that way, as opposed to picking what skills you want to level up.
Yeah, my
But,
first fucking playthrough of Skyrim, I was a mage that had a light armor helmet, heavy armor boots, used a mace and destruction magic. It was like the most retarded build ever.
That's not the most efficient way to play, for sure.
Well, yeah, I've gotten better since then by specializing, but I mean, you don't have to specialize in
Exactly.
in Elder
That's
Scrolls
my
game
point.
most of the time.
Yeah. The description for the Templar, on the other hand, says that these traveling knights call upon the powers of light and the burning sun to deal massive damage to their enemies while restoring health, magicka, and stamina to their allies. So that basically speaks to me that that's like a paladin. You know, they rely on like light and like they're basically warriors that use magic for the most, like slightly, and they buff their allies and stuff.
They have Sunstrike, which deals light damage, Sunfire, which deals a light blast. I guess it's like a light grenade or something. And then they have Rushed? No, it must be Hushed Ceremony. I don't know. I think I wrote the first word wrong. But it's a ceremony ability that heals an ally. And I find it interesting that there are Templars because Skyrim never had... I mean, the Elder Scrolls never had Templars, did they?
Well, in the newest one, they had those priests of Zen. What are they called? Like
Stendar?
Stendar. What was I saying? Zen something? Yeah, Stendar.
Zenithar? I don't think Zenithar would have priests.
Well, you know, there are those guys that would like walk around and they'd be like, "Are you a vampire? I hope not, or I'll fucking kill you." And they were just, you know, they thought they were better than everyone else. You know, they just roam around, and if you were evil, they would kill you. Just.
I'm not sure if they'd be called
It's basically-
Templars or it's just the class name because I think that
Those are
doesn't really
basically
fit into the lore
Templars.
too well, does it?
No, they're not called Templars. My point is that they may as well be.
No,
Templars,
I mean
'cause
Templars in the Elder Scrolls Online. If they're
Oh.
called Templars within the game, that'd be something pretty new, because they didn't have Templars in any of the other games, to my knowledge.
Well, it does take place a millennium before Skyrim and 800 years before the other games, so
It's true.
times may change. But I don't know if you knew about this. It's possible you do. But according to my notes, you could also within the Elder Scrolls Online, you can join the Fighters Guild, which is involved with destroying Murloc Baal's dark anchors. The Mages Guild, which is just involved with collecting old books and lore. And after launch, it says you could join the Fighters Guild and the Dark Brotherhood, but there's no real information on those.
Keep those quiet. Those are always the most interesting guilds, aren't they?
Definitely.
Right. I heard that it was designed to allow massive amounts of players on screen, and that's probably why the art style looks so different. And that's to take advantage of the Siege game mode, which features trebuchets to like I saw a trailer where there was like I think maybe 70 or so people in a fort, and then like 100 people outside the fort with trebuchets just opening fire on it. And that seems to be what PvP should be. It looks like shut up. Before you get to Cyrodiil, where there's apparently like an arena game mode or something, there should be like other PvP segments where it's just like massive wars. And I think that would help encompass newcomers, because in a war you don't have to be too strong on your own. You know, you can just hang back and kind of pick people off.
Did you say that the arena was in?
I heard something about that. I don't know.
That would be very interesting if that was the case. I did not hear about that.
I'm guessing that would have to make use, like, I heard it was like a fucking developer mentioned it like in passing in one of the videos I watched. He kind of mentioned that Cyrodiil has the arena, and then they mentioned something about PvP. So I think that they might be adding PvP to the arena. Nothing confirmed.
Best not to.
I think. I couldn't imagine that they wouldn't do that though. If the arena's there, they would have to fucking do that.
I could see them not doing that, but it'd be stupid not to. Anyway, in terms of the combat system, from what I know, it's kind of like takes a different approach from other MMOs in that it's not really turn-based. It's meant to be similar to the Elder Scrolls combat, anyway, like wherein you just, you have like a block, an attack. Like I think left mouse click makes you attack, right mouse click makes you block. If you hold down the left mouse button, you do a strong attack, etc., etc. You have a stamina bar and a magicka bar, or a magicka bar maybe. I'm not sure. Either you have both or one or the other. It didn't really specify. But from what I've seen in videos, it looks like standard, MMO fare, where you just kind of whack at each other until one of you dies, and whoever has better stats wins. But you have more control in that you can run away or block and stuff like that. Like it's kind of like a breed between normal MMO combat and the Elder Scrolls combat. Like they didn't want to go all the way, I guess, or they couldn't figure out how to do that in a massive multiplayer setting. But I don't know, it's interesting that they've taken that route, but still.
I still want an MMO where there is more skill involved in the combat. I mean, I heard that there is no WASD, which I would have loved to see. I'd love it to be like just Skyrim online.
That's what I would want. Like,
be able to stay in first-person mode and just I mean, like it would make combat a lot harder to plan. I think the reason why MMOs work the way they do is because it doesn't really matter how much it lags in a fight like that, where you just stand there and just use your abilities and just funnel damage. But
it said the developer said that they were striving to keep the action RPG feel present, and they described like the way the combat works is you have like hotkeys on your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buttons, as per other MMOs have. But like there's one specifically for potions, and then there's like the ones that have abilities. There's no cooldown, but they take away from like your stamina. And it also, I heard that the first person view is available, like you can go in first person, but as far as I know, there's no real first person animations yet, so it's just kind of a viewpoint, not really a gameplay choice. Just kind of sucks.
Like Assassin's Creed 1 had the eagle vision in first person.
Yeah, it's basically like that, where it's just zoomed really far in, but no, you don't see your arms or anything.
I like the idea of no cooldowns. Like I never understood why you needed a cooldown on a spell. Like I was playing Dragon Age, and I don't understand why, if you use like a lightning bolt, you have to wait to use it again, but you can easily throw a massive fucking firebolt out immediately after that. It's not like the staff needs to cool down or something. I never really got the whole cooldown. Like, as long as you have the mana to spam an attack, you should be able to spam it. Like, the amount of mana that you have is the prevention for spamming, isn't it? Like, that's why you have a limit to your mana. You don't need an additional cooldown to keep you from spamming it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things that's just become kind of like a rule over time. It's good that they're taking it out now, you know, breaking new ground.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, I heard that the main story is entirely in single player.
Really?
You hear about that?
Entirely?
Yeah, the main story is entirely single player. There's no co-op in the main storyline, no multiplayer in the main storyline.
Well, I assume that you can party up with your friends and do all the single player quests together.
No, I'm pretty sure the main
Like-
story is just single player. They wanted to have a focus on the story that they wouldn't be able to have in an MMO setting, which I can respect. I can respect that. Like, it's hard to have a serious story when there's like 100 people running around all trying to kill the same boss, you know. But
That's really
it does make me
strange, though.
wonder though. Like, why would it's a subscription game? So I don't get why some people probably wouldn't want to pay a subscription to play single player. They'd want to experience the multiplayer part.
That does really throw me off, because it's an MMORPG, so why would they make a focus on single
It's an
player?
MMO and an RPG at the same time.
And an action RPG at the same time.
To be fair, I think the main storyline shouldn't take up the majority of the game time. Like, you can probably rush through all of Skyrim's main storyline in an afternoon, but you need an extra 200 hours to experience everything else. You know, that's how RPGs usually are.
Yeah. I heard that, and I don't know how much this will interest you, seeing as you seem to favor like a kind of mage build, but I think that they said sneaking is still like a major part of the game. Like, this is the thing, they wanted...
too, man.
Yeah, but, well, I don't think it's the exact same system, because that wouldn't really work with other players, but it's the same general concept where you crouch and there's the eye, but I think they altered it slightly. I don't really know the details, but it's good that they're trying to keep most of the core concepts in the game, but
I would
don't
assume
know,
that
it
when you
seems like-
crouch, it makes you slightly invisible depending on your sneak skill. That's what I would guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think they took... I'm pretty sure you can fight werewolves and vampires and stuff, but you just can't become them. You can't like get those diseases and...
That would suck. Well, that's probably going to be a DLC thing then, isn't it?
Maybe.
I mean,
Who
I would
knows?
love to see like an entire faction within a faction just like forming a werewolf group. There's a bunch of players forming their own werewolf faction to wage the war on the other three
like-
factions.
No, that was actually a really awesome idea. Because I don't know if they have guilds in this or whatever, but that'd be really cool if you could like have a werewolf guild and a vampire guild, and then just like have a rivalry.
And no one
matches.
no one goes to the other pacts, the other factions that the game puts in. The Aldmeri Dominion, Daggerfall, Ebonheart, fuck them. Just be vampires and werewolves.
Yeah. Just ally against the common enemy. But
I
what
saw
do you
new
know?
spell types.
New spell types?
Yeah, like it's not just bolts and stream attacks, but I saw like pull moves and AoEs that I haven't seen in did Oblivion even have any AoEs?
No, actually, I don't think it did. It had like you shoot a fireball, like a wimpy little fireball, and then you can make yourself invisible. Or no real AoEs though.
All the spells in Oblivion were kind of like they did different things, but they all had like they had different functions,
animation.
but they had the same animations. Nothing really special about it. But Skyrim added bolts and like it added like streams and AoEs, but they got rid of some of the functions. And it looks like this game has it has new animations, new types of spells, and new functions for them. Like there was no pull move. I didn't see a pull move before, and the AoEs in Skyrim were fairly weak. Like they had a large charge up time to do them, so it was really hard to get them off. You usually die before you did it.
Yeah. Well, like pull moves and AoEs are pretty standard fare for MMOs. Like,
Yeah.
as far as I know, but still, that's something, you know.
I mean, that's all I've seen so far, though. I mean, in the Jaros, there
Yeah.
are probably more. And
Actually, I don't know how much you know about this, but they're adding like a new, I don't know if I call it a feature. It's like a new thing they're adding called synergies, where you can like you can find certain combinations of spells that work well together. Like in Dragon Age, how you can like set oil on, you can like put oil on the ground and set it on fire or something like that. You can
Or
do that
freeze them
in
and hit them
this
with
as
a
well.
bolt.
Like you can, Yeah,
big
yeah,
ass
you can
rock.
combine your abilities with other people's abilities and cause like chain reactions and stuff, which is really interesting. I think enemies can do it as well, which is also pretty cool. And
If the
speaking of
AI is that
enemies,
good.
actually, the AI is supposed to be pretty damn good, from what I've heard. Like if an animal is like outnumbered, you know, you've got like a massive team of big burly, you know, built up players, then the animal won't fight you. They'll like run away. They won't want to fight you. But if it's just you and there's this big werewolf, then he will attack you like as soon as he sees you. But they won't pick a fight that they know they won't win. And from what I could see in the videos and stuff, a lot of the creatures and stuff you fight are just like returning creatures from the other Elder Scrolls games, which isn't a bad thing. There are a lot of cool creatures in those games.
I saw a lot of creatures that I didn't really recognize. I mean, unless they've been like really redesigned, or I can't pick them out in the art style.
Well, that's possible, but like, I saw some that I didn't recognize. Like, I saw a lot that I, you know, instantly recognized as well, like the dwarven like spheres, you know,
And the giants.
those real robots, and the giants, yeah,
The land
and mud
rogue.
crabs. And land
I didn't see any
crabs.
mud crabs. That's awesome. I love mud crabs.
I saw some mud crabs.
I got this new skin for mud crabs in Skyrim that adds a top hat and a monocle to them.
Dirty.
Thought I'd mention that. I think it's a very nice skin.
Hmm.
Yeah, like that's what I wanted to mention though. About the art style, is it doesn't look like an Elder Scrolls game. The environments fit the provinces, but Skyrim doesn't look anything like Skyrim, the game. You know, it looks like the province, but not the game. The art style
Yeah.
seems massively different. Like it looks like an MMO art style, like World
Well-
of Warcraft style art. Like it seems almost cell shaded.
Like kind of cartoonish,
Yeah,
exaggerated.
which I think fits into the whole we need a lot of players on screen thing.
Yeah, that's what I would assume. They have to downgrade the graphics a little bit, but instead of just, you know, reducing the graphics, they just go to a different art style so that they can still make it look kind of good. Give
Yeah.
the illusion of beauty.
But it makes the comparisons between Skyrim, like looking at the game Skyrim and looking at the worlds in the game, and looking at the same area of the world in Elder Scrolls Online is kind of a jarring transition.
Is it like recognizable at least? Like, does it at least resemble its?
Yeah, I have a
appearance?
couple screenshots that you can definitely recognize the area, like Bleak Falls Barrow. I think it was Bleak Falls Barrow, where those giant pillars are sticking out of the ground from over the trees. I have a screenshot
Yeah.
of that, and it looks like Skyrim, the area, but not Skyrim, the game.
No, I get what you mean.
It's kind of shocking, honestly.
One thing that I wanted to talk to you about, I don't understand the context for this. I don't understand the build up or, you know, what this means in any way. But I read that there's a perk awarded for being the current emperor. And I don't know what that is about, but that sounds really interesting to me.
Yeah, maybe you can actually become emperor in the game if you lead the faction that takes over.
Yeah, actually that seems to make sense. That would fit into the siege mode if, you know, your faction is successful enough and wins enough PvP battles. It would be fair to assume that eventually they would take control of most of the map, and you could become emperor. And then, you know, you could also, like other factions, if they caught up and, you know, they ended up taking over more places, they would have, you know, someone would become emperor on their faction.
I could
It seems
imagine
like
Emperor Dickbutt the First joining his warriors in battle in the siege mode with his royal armor.
It seems like something that would change around a lot, though. Which, actually, that's really weird. I just had, like, another weird moment. When I was reading about, like, the backstory of the game, it says that it takes place during the Interregnum, which is a time of political instability, which would fit into the gameplay aspect of constantly becoming emperor and then, like, having someone defeat you and then they become emperor, because it would make sense. You know, it's a time of political instability.
Yeah. That's what I said.
really
20 years of
interesting.
lore that was never put into the game outside of a book that can be explored now.
Definitely. I never appreciated what you said until just now.
Yeah. But I think I've run through everything on my side. How about you?
I feel like I've mentioned everything I want to talk about.
Right.
Oh.
So
One more thing.
yeah.
Release date, sometime in 2013. However, it is unspecified, so keep tabs on that.
Well, they did put out a beta for it.
Yeah,
In,
so it's safe
in
to assume
March,
either the end of
so-
the year or...
Yeah, sometime this year probably. Maybe
November?
Wait, fuck, no, it's the 13th. I was going to suggest maybe, like, 12, 12, 12, but there is no 13th month, so it wouldn't be 13, 13, 13. Unless March becomes a month all of a sudden.
Smarch? Why would it be Smarch? Why not, you know?
Smapril?
No.
Smanuary.
Shut up. Why does it have to be something?
Anyway, I think that if there is a game series with enough nerd power behind it, enough of a legacy to fuck WoW in the MMO market, it would be the Elder Scrolls. That said, I don't think the Elder Scrolls Online is really necessary. Because a lot of people are still playing Skyrim. DLC for it did come out pretty recently. There's a very strong modding community on the PC, which is all that I should mention because the Xbox and PS3 versions wouldn't be getting the MMO anyway. So, in terms of PC gamers, they have a lot of mods still coming out. Some really good ones, like there's the whole Skywind mod, which is going to add Morrowind into Skyrim. Stuff like that.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And there are a lot of MMOs out there already, and the major appeal of the Elder Scrolls series was always a strong focus on story and exploration, which isn't usually typical in MMOs. There's a lot of, in MMOs it's more grouping and questing and stuff like that, which is never, like, Elder Scrolls games have never been really good in terms of quests. There's always been a lot of, like, repetition in terms of the quest. It's just the journey that's more interesting.
Well, there's a couple of standout quests that are really good, but
yeah, a couple,
for the most part, I guess.
For the most part, there's not a lot. And then, they're going to have to do a lot of retooling for the transition. And, I mean, the world will feel good because of what Bethesda's done over the years characterizing each province. And, I'm disappointed, though. This means that they won't be making an Elder Scrolls game with every province in it for single player. You know, there's not going to be a single player Elder Scrolls game out there with every province in it anymore. I was always hoping that that would happen, but they made the MMO with it, so why would they make that for a regular game? But, yeah, I mean, I'm guessing it will probably go free to play at some point. A lot of MMOs do.
Hopefully. But I could see that, because I'm not a fan of MMOs. Like, I probably wouldn't buy the Elder Scrolls Online just based on the fact that I don't like MMOs. But, like, to be honest, like, the one thing I wish they did, instead of making an MMO, just making a new Elder Scrolls game and having, like,
a co-op mode.
A co-op mode. That would be so cool. I don't know how that would work, considering the nature of Elder Scrolls, but just being able to, like, raid a dungeon together, or I don't know,
co-op mode should be pretty easy to write into the story. I mean, you could just have, like, two... I was going to say that you have, like, two siblings, but then one guy could be an orc and another guy could be a Khajiit, and it would make absolutely no fucking sense, but...
Yeah, but I'm not just talking about the story. I mean, like, how would they make it... Like, would there be a limit? Would two people have to be a certain distance to one another, or would it be completely unrestrained? In which case, what if one guy ends up going to, like, an area in the story that you can only go to once, like Sovngarde?
Well, I would think there would need to be a transition for both players to be there. Like in Dead Island, you can't even start a cutscene unless both people are there, you know? A lot of games
think about
take
how,
that kind of method.
Yeah, but also you need to think about how, like, in Skyrim, like, during combat a lot, if you're the kind of person that, like, relies on potions or something, you go into your inventory a lot. But if that was co-op, then in order to make it not frustrating, they'd have to make it so that the game doesn't pause when you go into your inventory screen.
Yeah,
in
so
which
just
case you'd end up dying
to your hot bar. I always have, like, potions down to 3.
I guess. Anyway, let's not get into that right now.
Yeah, that's something that we could discuss, though. I mean, we are on our final thoughts of Skyrim at this point, correct? I mean, unless you have some final thoughts on the Elder Scrolls Online.
I don't really have many thoughts on the Elder Scrolls Online, simply that I'm probably not going to buy it, just because of the fact that I don't like MMOs so much. But it seems like for an MMO...
if it was free to play, though.
Yeah, for what it is, it does look pretty fun, and if I got it for free, I would definitely give it a try, just to see if, just give it a chance, you know, see how it is.
Right. So, Skyrim now. A retrospective on Skyrim. A game that both of us have played very extensively, correct?
Pretty extensively.
More so on my end than on yours.
Yeah, because it constantly fucks up for me every time I try and fucking run the game, and now it just crashes every
Maybe you need a better computer.
No, I don't need a better computer. Shut up.
You just need to learn how to fucking mod. I think you're just really bad at mods. You probably have like your load order screwed up, and you have dependencies above their required stuff, so it crashes. Or you probably have incompatible mods. You're just bad, you know.
Do you want to know what the problem is? I know what the problem is. I just don't know how to fix it. You want to know what the problem is?
What?
You know how when I was trying to set the EMB mod up,
yeah,
graphics mod, and how when you go on the launcher, you have to select what graphics thingy you want to use. I don't remember the exact term, like what graphics preset I guess you want to use. I only have the option for EMB now. Like I don't have the original default option. It only loads EMB, and I don't have EMB. So every time it tries to load the game, it just crashes. It doesn't matter. I'll fix
So
it.
just like reinstall the goddamn game then.
I've tried. It doesn't work.
I don't even know. All right, whatever. Let's go on to Skyrim thoughts now. You want to lead us off there?
Well, Skyrim is a good game. It's very fun, very open, a bit glitchy sometimes, a bit random, a bit funny, a bit cheesy. Sometimes naked people run up to you and give you letters. Sometimes you get attacked randomly and die for no reason. But it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it. Very fun game.
Yeah. It's a bit buggy, but it has an amazing amount of immersion in it. It's so easy to get lost in the universe because they, especially after they retooled the whole conversation system. Because I'm pretty sure in other Bethesda games, like in Fallout and in Oblivion, time froze when you talk to someone.
That was so weird because like, if you were talking to someone and like in Fallout, for example, and there was a death claw behind them, it would be like about to swipe and not like take the guy's head off. You talk to them and the claw would just be frozen behind him. Yeah. And as soon as you leave, it would take his head off. So dodgy.
Yeah. It makes you have to rush through conversations in Skyrim if you know there's danger coming, which is a lot more immersive.
Or, even better, stop talking, deal with the problem, and then continue the conversation. That's what I would do.
The problem is, like, in the Dragonborn DLC, that exact thing happens. There's, like, a part where you have to talk to someone when a bunch of cultists start pouring out and attack you. And, like, if you try to... And you can't continue the conversation after you cut it off. So, you know, like, you'll miss a good portion. So you have to pick whatever you want to hear the most first, and then drop the conversation in time for the cultists to attack. Unless you have a lot of health. If you have a lot of health, you can just sit there and let them hit you while you're talking. But,
yeah, well...
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to explore. It's a big world. Deep story, lots of interesting characters. It's a big step up from Oblivion in terms of tech and gameplay.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I'm looking forward to the next solo Elder Scrolls game because of that. Because the next one's going to have a big step up in terms of gameplay.
Exactly. If you look at how different... like Skyrim is to Oblivion, like even in the way people look. In Oblivion, everyone looks like they were made out of claymation, and it's so creepy because, so creepy. In Skyrim, they actually look like real people, and then in Morrowind, you know, it just looks like a Xbox original game. Everything's kind of blurry and untextured, which isn't bad for its time, but it's a little bit dated now.
Even the way that the crime system worked in Morrowind and Oblivion was like updated in Skyrim and made better.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really interesting just to see how much they're going to change from Skyrim to the next Elder Scrolls game, and based off the fact that every, like, I guess, modern generation, and I'm including Morrowind in the modern generation Elder Scrolls games, anything, you know, every 3D one, they've pretty much covered all the, well, most of the boring places like Cyrodiil and Skyrim. So it means that for the next game, they're either going to have to explore, you know, like Black Marsh or the Somerset Isles. Well, I guess they could go back to High Rock, but that would kind of suck.
I want the Somerset Isles or Valenwood.
Yeah, definitely.
Valenwood has all those amazing
I'd be happy
trees.
with Elsewhere.
The Somerset Isle has all the high elves. My chosen master race.
I'd be happy with Elsewhere, honestly.
You would, fucking furry.
Elsewhere is a beautiful place.
Yeah, I mean, I say I want a solo a soldier. Fuck!
Wow.
A solo not a solo, a soldier. Fuck! Come on!
Do you wanna just take a deep breath?
A solo Elder Scrolls game, because Elder Scrolls Online was developed parallel to Skyrim. It's been in development for like 5 years, so it's been developed along while Skyrim was being developed. So there won't be a technological evolution between the two games. They might learn from minor mistakes, but there won't be a major evolution. Yes. There you go. I got that out.
Finally.
I am pissed about the end of official DLC, though.
Yeah, me too. I thought they were going to release a Red Card DLC.
Yeah, that must be for something else. Maybe the next Elder Scrolls game will be set in Hammerfell or something.
Maybe. That'd be kind of disappointing because, you know, we don't get to explore one of the cooler places, but...
Yeah, just a massive fucking desert to explore.
Yay.
I don't understand how they would do Valenwood though, because they described Valenwood as like a massive fucking forest, which would be very difficult to optimize, because there'd be tons of trees and leaves on screen at all times.
Well, yeah, so they wouldn't do Valenwood, they could do elsewhere.
That's disappointing. Valenwood's awesome. The Bossmere, man. But I feel like there's a lot more that could have been done with the DLC. Like, dragon transformations would have been cool, because the dragon riding in the Dragonborn was very limited. I mean, you could only hover around a fucking phone. Seriously. Off. All right.
Okay.
Goddamn.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, you could only like hover around in a set area with in Dragonborn, and you could like choose targets to attack, but you couldn't just like fly around freely on the dragon. Like set a marker and have it go there real time, which I felt was really missing from it.
Yeah, how come Bethesda always seems to do that? Like, Bethesda do a lot of cool stuff in their games, but it always seems like when they are about to, you know, do something really cool, they don't take it as far as, you know, what seems natural.
I want to believe it's technological limitations.
Yeah, but what would be so difficult about just like letting you fly a dragon, or like fast traveling with a dragon or something?
Well, you can't fast travel with it on. You can just, I mean, you can mark an area and then fast travel to that area if you've discovered it. But it will happen in fast travel. It won't happen in real time. I think the reason why they do that, though, is probably for gameplay balance. Because otherwise, being able to just go around the entire world in a dragon that can just basically instant kill most enemies on the surface would be kind of overpowered. Because you're completely safe while you're on that dragon for the most part.
I guess that makes sense.
And if it ever gets really low on health, you can just have it land and you can get off of it.
Yeah.
I mean, the modding community will have to step up to make up for the lack of official DLC. And I do expect to see a dragon riding mod that allows you to ride them completely freely at some point.
Just give it time.
Yeah.
One thing that I've always really appreciated about Bethesda games, this is particularly true for Skyrim and Fallout, is the kind, like, this wasn't really a thing I noticed as much in the older games, but like just walking around the world, you can see like so many little stories that have happened that aren't spelled out for you. Like, they're not official quests, or, you know, they're not written down in books. It's just little things that you discover for yourself. Like, for example, I've completely forgotten what it's called. I think it's Blackreach, you know, the underground dwarven city.
Yeah.
With the big mushrooms and stuff. Like, for one, that's the coolest looking area I've ever seen in an Elder Scrolls game. It's so fucking awesome to find like an abandoned city with massive mushrooms and stuff. But like, if you go into one of the houses there, you can just find a skeleton with an arrow sticking out of it, and then you look around a little bit more, you find the journal, and it turns out that that skeleton is the corpse of a guy that gives you a really important quest in Oblivion.
Yeah, the Nirn route quest.
Yeah, and then it continues on in Skyrim. Like, that's such a cool like little link to the past.
Yeah.
Like, it made me squee when that happened. I was like, you squee!
Of course, there's like just the random things you can find, like the naked mage, or that guy that in Dragonborn, when you're on what's the island, Solstheim, you can find this random mage who casts this really amazing spell that launches him like 70 feet into the air. Then he falls down and dies. No,
I'm pretty
quest.
sure that was like
You can't get any spell from it. It just happens.
I didn't even know about that, but I think that's like a reference to an Easter egg in Morrowind, where like you could randomly just find like a dead body of a mage, and sometimes it would actually fall from the sky, and he had like these enchanted boots on him that made him jump incredibly high, but he obviously didn't figure out how to land safely. Yeah, it's just nice little touches like that really add some flavor to the game, some life.
So yeah, I mean, I think we're both looking forward to the next Elder Scrolls game, but since this one, solo Elder Scrolls game, but since this one came out in 2011, Skyrim, it's going to be probably like maybe 2016 before we see a new solo Elder Scrolls game. They tend to take a pretty long break in between games to develop, you know.
5 or so years.
However, I mean, the upgrade from... Well, no, that's... Like, the upgrade between Elder Scrolls games has always been really big. Like, from Morrowind to Oblivion, even though Oblivion wasn't that good, that was a huge technological upgrade. And then from Oblivion to Skyrim, it was a huge technological upgrade, so it's going to take a while.
Yeah, it's worth waiting. And, you know, before Skyrim came out, the hype was fucking massive, because they were waiting so long. And the last Elder Scrolls game was, you know, it wasn't the best received anyway. But it doesn't really matter because the fact that there's a new Elder Scrolls game coming out just gets people excited. They're just like, oh my god, what are they gonna do different this time?
Well, assuming you haven't overdosed by the time that the next Elder Scrolls game comes out, we should definitely do a discussion on that as well.
Definitely. I would love to.
But for now, I think that we've covered everything that we want to cover here.
Yeah, I've said everything that I want to say.
And some more that you didn't want to say.
Actually, probably more that I didn't want to say than what I actually wanted to say. Tends to happen sometimes.
Well, we got some good thoughts out there. If any of you disagree with us, once again, go fuck yourselves. But you can also leave a comment, and we will discuss it with you, because that's the kind of people that we are. We like to open our arms to friendly and sometimes hostile discussion. But for now, yeah,
kinds.
Of all kinds. Yes, and no robot for you this time. No robot at all. That was a huge improvement.
Yes. However, you got a phone call, and I had to adjust my seat, so that definitely needs to be worked on.
And you're playing with your water bottle.
Yeah, sorry.
We'll figure this out eventually. They'll come back to these when we've been doing this for like a year, and they'll say, holy shit, they sucked so much back then. And they suck now, too. No
and
evolution
they
at all.
meaning us. Us. That will be us.
Yeah, us.
We're like, they sucked.
Us are they.
Us are they are us.
Yeah.
Whoa!
This is getting retarded. Let's just call it here. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, assuming that you've watched this long. If you did, then that's fantastic. And stay tuned next week. I mean, 2 weeks from now when we do whatever the fuck we're doing next time. Maybe Fallout 4, something like that.
Maybe.
We don't know
Maybe
yet.
we'll talk about current events.
Like fat people.
And actually, no, that's too soon. I can't say that. Just end it. I don't want to say something bad.
Like what? What are you gonna say?
Just end it so I can tell you.
Alright. See you guys next time.
I was gonna make a joke about the Boston bomber.
Wow. Now I'm ending it.
Are you serious?